London. This is The World Today.
Hello, I'm Jamie Owen. Welcome to the programme. Our top stories: a major escalation in the Middle East. Hezbollah launches phase 1 of its attack on Israel, firing hundreds of drones and rockets. In Lebanon, 3 people are killed as Israel launches preemptive airstrikes against Hezbollah targets. Our other headlines: NASA announces that 2 astronauts stranded on the International Space Station since June won't now be returning to Earth until February. And one of the biggest street parties in the world. 2 million people are expected at London's Notting Hill Carnival. In a major escalation of the conflict in the Middle East, Israel has launched what it calls preemptive airstrikes against Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. Its military said it had detected plans for a significant attack. Hezbollah confirmed it has started phase 1 of an attack on Israel, firing hundreds of rockets and drones across the border. The armed group says it was retaliation for the killing of a senior commander in Beirut last month. Well, let's talk now to our correspondent Jonathan Regev, who's watching events for us in Tel Aviv. Jonathan, a significant escalation in this conflict.
Yes, Jamie, a significant escalation indeed. Big question now is if this escalation is over or not. Many indicators perhaps showing that at least for now this major escalation happened in the morning, but it is over. Why so? From Hezbollah, we're hearing in the past hour comments coming from Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah saying that Hezbollah has to check about the outcome of the attack that it launched this morning to decide if it wants to continue or not. And on the Israeli side, if in the morning it seemed as if things are heading into a major escalation with the orders from the Home Front Command for the residents not only of northern Israel, but also central Israel, the Tel Aviv area, to change their routine, to stay mostly indoors, to refrain from big gatherings outside. At around noon local time, which is 7 hours ago, those orders have changed, and it seems as if, at least in central Israel, things are back to normal. And we're also hearing reports saying that Israel and Hezbollah both are delivering messages to each other through third parties, saying they're not seeking to escalate things even further. So the question now is if this phase is over. Phase 1, as you said, was mentioned by Hezbollah. Will there be a phase 2, a phase 3 in the coming days? It seems cautiously we can say that no. But then again, you can never really know what the events may lead to here. But it seems cautiously that we can say that this escalation is now over. It has been contained to these few hours in the early morning hours, and as of now, that is it.
Obviously, this is significant on the global stage. What are world leaders saying?
World leaders, as expected, I think, were standing by their allies. If we begin with the United States, then comments coming out of the White House saying that Israel advised the United States before this morning's attacks by the Israeli Air Force, some 100 jets or so attacking inside Lebanon. And reports from the White House suggest that the United States was informed by Israel and the U.S. saying that in cases such as this, when there's intelligence, according to Israel, there's intelligence that Hezbollah is about to strike, then Israel has all of the right to defend itself. On the other hand, those coming from the resistance axis, as it is known here, the supporters of Hezbollah, praising Hezbollah for standing up to what they defined as the Zionist entity and sending an attack, according to them, into northern and central Israel. Congratulatory messages coming from the Houthis in Yemen, from Hamas, from the Islamic Jihad. All of them congratulating Hamas, and the leaders of Egypt are saying that they're worried from this escalation. And if we mentioned Egypt and we mention the global arena, we have to say that the negotiations for a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas in Cairo tomorrow in Egypt are going on as planned. This perhaps could also show that whatever happened this morning in the Israel-Lebanon border perhaps is contained to the events of this morning and should not have a larger impact on the events in the region.
Jonathan, thank you for that. Our correspondent Jonathan Regev in Tel Aviv. Let's next take you to Beirut and talk to our correspondent Zara Al-Derzi, who's there for us. Zara, Hezbollah saying today's operation has now been completed and accomplished.
Yes, Jamie. According to the recent speech by the Secretary General of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, who declared that this operation has ended and accomplished. And during the speech, he explained some information about the operations, which make a completion to the statements that Hezbollah released earlier on Sunday. And also Nasrallah said that the strategic or the qualitative target that one of the statements of Hezbollah were talking about on Sunday morning was the military intelligence base, the Amman, and the unit 8200 in Galilut near Tel Aviv, as well as attacking over 11 or 12 Israeli military sites, including these strategic bases near Tel Aviv. Also, Nasrallah denied the claims by the Israeli military about the preemptive attack that it carried out. According to Nasrallah, 13 minutes before the beginning of the attack, which they called the day of 40th or Yawm al-Arba'in, he said that they launched 340 Katyusha rockets and a large number of drones. The attack started with the rockets, and then the drones crossed the Israeli-Lebanese border from Bekaa, and also from the north of Litani, and also from the south of Litani. He also addressed that none of the rocket platforms that were involved in the attack of the Sunday were targeted in the Israeli attacks, which were very heavy.
Zara, thank you for that. Our correspondent Zara Al-Derzi in Beirut. Well, in Gaza, the health ministry says dozens more people were killed in overnight airstrikes. Our correspondent Akram Al-Satari is in Khan Yunis.
Well, the attacks are continuous while we hear the news about Hamas delegation being in Cairo, discussing with the Egyptian authorities the future of the swap deal and all the exhaustive details of that deal. People in Gaza are still living that atmosphere of fear and continuous bombardment and devastation. Right behind us, right in front of us, Nasser Hospital has been receiving bodies of the people who were killed in different parts of the Gaza Strip, while we have been hearing other news about Al-Aqsa Hospital that has been under imminent threat of the Israeli ground operations taking place in Gaza Central area. The hospital has been receiving also the bodies of the people who were targeted and killed in different operations throughout the day. Around 19 Palestinians were killed, 13 of them, the bodies of 13 of them were received in Nasser Hospital, while dozens others were injured. The bombardment can be heard in Khan Yunis and Deir al-Balah, and also from Rafah area, where people cannot go there to retrieve the bodies of their deer. And also the news coming from Gaza area, Al-Zaytun area, and also Al-Shaja'iyya, Beit Hanun and Beit Lahia are indicative of continuous aerial strikes and artillery fire that has been destroying the houses and also causing death and injury among the Palestinians. One of the most fresh news about the situation is the new evacuation order that was made to one more block in Deir al-Balah area in Gaza Central area, where the citizens in that area were asked to move to eastern Deir al-Balah area by the beach area, which means the number of people who are displaced and who are seeking safety is increasing by the day. More frequent evacuation orders, larger number of the Palestinians seeking safety in the humanitarian zone, and at the very same time, more Palestinians are targeted, killed and injured even in those prescribed as humanitarian zones.
Israeli media is reporting that senior intelligence leaders, including the head of Mossad, have arrived in Cairo to join the ceasefire talks. Our correspondent Yasser Hakim is in Cairo.
Well, right now, not only the U.S. and Israelis officials are there. Hamas has been in Cairo since last night, Saturday night. Qatar has joined in with Egypt as well. Meetings are ongoing as we speak. Just a reminder of what are the sticking points that have been prolonging the talks. First of all is obviously what are the name of the prisoners who will be through the prisoner swap? What will happen after the ceasefire? Will there be a of Gaza by Hamas or not, as Israel has been requesting? Or will Israel actually withdraw from Gaza, as Hamas has been demanding? And as Hamas says, it has been agreed upon in July 2nd agreement, that proposal that was submitted by the U.S. Obviously, one sticking point which involves Egypt as well is the Rafah border crossing, the corridor known as the Philadelphia corridor, along the border between Gaza and Egypt. According to the peace treaty signed between Egypt and Israel in 1979, this area should be monitored and operated by Egypt and Palestine. Israel took over control of this area a couple of weeks ago, and Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel said that he intends to stay there. Egypt has refused, Hamas is refusing as well, and the Israeli team that has been in Egypt has come in with a new map that shows some kind of reduction of the Israeli forces on the corridor, and maybe even a change in their positions. However, what we understand from the Egyptian statements and the Hamas statements is that they are calling for a complete withdrawal of Israeli forces from the Rafah border crossing and from the Philly corridor, to allow for the reopening of the border crossing for aid into the Palestinians. We will wait, because there's also some proposal from the U.S. calling it the bridging the gaps, which says that there might be an international force temporarily on this borderline until there's a ceasefire, and this ceasefire can lead to more negotiations for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. So until now, there's no results yet. Maybe there could be hope, but according to most analysts and observers, the hope is slim to get a breakthrough on Sunday in Cairo.
At least 34 people have been killed in 2 separate bus accidents in Pakistan. 12 people died when a bus carrying Shia pilgrims back from Iran veered off the road in the southwest of the country. A few hours later, at least 22 people died when another bus fell into a deep ravine in Punjab province. Police in Germany say a Syrian man has confessed to carrying out the mass knife attack which killed 3 people. Prosecutors are investigating whether he was a member of the Islamic State group, which has claimed responsibility. The attack happened at a festival on Friday. 8 other people were injured, with some in a serious condition. Russia says it's sending more weapons to its Kursk region as it continues to battle a Ukrainian incursion. Moscow says missiles and artillery supplies are on the way, almost 3 weeks after Kyiv sent troops across the border. This all comes as President Zelensky announced the development of a new drone missile, which he says has been fired at a Russian-occupied military base. You're watching CGTN. Still ahead, get the party started. London's celebration of all things Caribbean gets underway at Notting Hill Carnival.
Ever wondered what's the difference between a bear and a bull market? Where are the cash cows? And who are the lame ducks? And what exactly are black swans? Grey rhinos? And unicorn companies? Make sense of it all with Global Business, only on CGTN.
I think it should be more global cooperation.
I would like to hear more the voice of the developing countries.
Globalization has lifted more than 1 billion people out of poverty.
The great transition has to happen. is a necessity.
Well, China and the United States are important powers in the world.
What unites us is much more than what divides us. And I believe China is committed to this agenda.
Join me, Juliet Mann, to set the agenda at these times every weekend on CGTN.
Hello, welcome back. A reminder of our top stories. A major escalation in the Middle East. Hezbollah launches phase 1 of its attack on Israel, firing hundreds of drones and rockets. In Lebanon, 3 people are killed as Israel launches preemptive airstrikes against Hezbollah targets. Malawi has started screening visitors for Mpox after it registered 2 suspected cases. Anyone arriving in the country will now be tested at airports and border points. Malawi is one of the few countries in southern Africa to have avoided an outbreak so far. Our correspondent Travers Andrews reports.
As part of its Mpox mitigation measures, Malawi has instituted screening for the virus at all ports of entry in a bid to stop its spread. Screening for Mpox has become mandatory, including at international airports, and they form part of a raft of preventative measures. So far, there are 2 suspected Mpox cases awaiting laboratory test results, but the country is planning for a worst-case scenario.
A vaccine against Mpox, but it is not given to just everyone like we're doing with the COVID-19 vaccine or cholera vaccine. This is only reserved for those that are at a very high risk.
The Health Ministry has also set up a mobile diagnostic unit at a hospital in the country's capital, Lilongwe. There are 2 suspected Mpox cases involving a 31-year-old male who's receiving treatment at a hospital and a 17-year-old boy who's being cared for at home. As part of the mitigation measures, authorities have also embarked on Mpox awareness campaigns, especially through community health networks.
This disease could potentially also affect the people of Malawi. So my advice to people is that when you meet a person or you see someone who has Mpox, please avoid any contact with them and also avoid contacts with any materials that the people that have been affected by Mpox.
For now, the screenings at the ports of entry remain the first line of defense, so that Mpox cases can be picked up early and dealt with the urgency it requires. Travers Andrews, CGTN.
NASA has announced that 2 astronauts stranded on the International Space Station since June won't now be returning to Earth until February. The Boeing Starliner that took them into orbit has suffered technical problems. Their mission was planned to last just 8 days. Our correspondent Poppy Muthing reports.
NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams lifted off from Earth into space on June 5th for a test flight aboard Boeing's Starliner spacecraft. After years of delays due to technical and mechanical setbacks, it was finally deemed safe enough to carry a crew to the International Space Station.
We all know that when the going gets tough, and it often does, the tough get going. And you have. And Sonny and I are honored to share this dream of spaceflight with each and every one of you.
The dream, however, was short-lived. Starliner experienced a raft of technical failings, including thruster failures and helium gas leaks, bringing into question whether the spacecraft could safely bring home Wilmore and Williams from a voyage that had been expected to last just 1 week. After almost 3 months of deliberations, NASA announced Saturday that the astronauts are expected to come home in February 2025 aboard a SpaceX Crew Dragon vessel, while the Starliner spacecraft will return to Earth uncrewed next month.
The decision to keep Butch and Sonny aboard the International Space Station and bring the Boeing Starliner home uncrewed is a result of a commitment to safety. Our core value is safety, and it is our North Star.
Reacting via social media, Boeing said, "We are executing the mission as determined by NASA, and we are preparing the spacecraft for a safe and successful uncrewed return." This comes as Boeing has faced a poor safety record across its commercial aviation sector in recent years, including the deadly crashes of 2 737 MAX jets, culminating in civil lawsuits, congressional hearings, a criminal probe, and the resignation of Boeing's CEO Dave Calhoun in March. Poppy and Puting, CGTN, Washington.
Beijing has criticized Washington's decision to impose export restrictions on more Chinese companies. The United States announced trade controls on 105 Russian and Chinese firms, claiming they were providing support to the Russian military. China said it would take necessary steps to protect the rights of Chinese businesses. The founder and the CEO of the Telegram messaging app has been arrested in France. Russian-born billionaire Pavel Durov is accused of failing to curb criminal activity on the app due to a lack of moderators, which Telegram denies. Moscow has condemned his arrest, accusing the West of double standards on free speech. Shrimp fishing on horseback was, believe it or not, once a common sight right across northern Europe. The centuries-old practice has largely disappeared, but one small community on Belgium's North Sea coast is continuing the tradition. Our correspondent Will Denslow reports.
Most horses would be out of their depth, but 12-year-old Floris is a seasoned pro. Both horse and rider learning the ropes of shrimp fishing on horseback can take years.
He can see the floor, so he do trust me to say it's safe, and I trust him because he don't kick me off. So we are one package.
This is a tradition that dates back over 500 years, one born from necessity when farmers had to find fresh solutions for fresh food during barren winter months. Once a common sight across Europe, now people must come to this spot on the Belgian coast.
My father, he had the idea for working with the horses for tourism. Tourists come for looking, so they pay a little to come see, and that's also good. So we can make a living with our horses. Without the tourism, it's impossible.
Nelle Beckert is the first woman to be officially recognised as a horseback shrimper. She also works as a carer for seniors, but this has been her passion for over a decade.
It's just great to sit on top in the middle of the sea. It's a feeling I can't describe. It's just you're one with the horse, the sea. I can't describe the feeling.
Shrimp fishing is key to the community's identity. Hauls are typically lower during the summer, but fishing continues to give more beachgoers a flavour of this unique event.
Unfortunately, this catch was somewhat of a damp squib. Just the 5 shrimp caught, not even enough for dinner. Nella says she's thrown them back and will try and catch them next time.
The tradition has caught the attention of the international community. In 2013, shrimp fishing on horseback was added by the United Nations body UNESCO to its Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity list.
Never in the world you see this, and it's a great tradition for Oostduinkerke. I'm very proud of it, and I'm very proud of the fishermen, because it's very hard to do this.
Locals here say this tradition was on the brink of extinction 60 years ago, and just 4 fishermen back then kept it alive. The hope is that public exhibitions like this can cause a splash among younger generations and inspire a new wave of enthusiasts. William Denslow, CGTN, Oostduinkerke.
It's one of the biggest street parties in the world, a feast of flavours, sights and sounds. Up to 2 million people are expected to take part in London's Notting Hill Carnival, which celebrates Caribbean culture. Our correspondent Rahul Pathak is there.
Well, we're coming towards the end of day one here at the Notting Hill Carnival. This huge festival has been going on since the early 1960s. It was originally set up to bring the local Caribbean community together in response to huge race riots that happened in this area back in 1959. And that, of course, has massive echoes of what's going on right now over 60 years later. What does Carnival mean to you?
For me, personally, a day out, a day to express yourself, to come along and join in with people, smile and enjoy life and listen to some good tune.
I would say it's an experience that everyone needs to have. Number one, I mean, being able to, of course, experience the different benefits, or even cultural benefits, which all these people bring, and of course the food, the music, and the experience itself. It means a lot, I would say.
I think it's one of those cultural things that if it was broadcast to the whole world, it would be like Oktoberfest in Germany. Yeah. The whole world knows about it.
Well, up to 7,000 police officers are on duty to make sure that there isn't any trouble. Sunday, it's traditionally known as Family Day here at Carnival, so it's a very relaxed, very friendly atmosphere. But most of the people here this weekend will all be about the colourful costumes, the incredible food, and of course, the music. Rahul Pathak, CGTN at the Notting Hill Carnival in London.
And finally, who needs to learn an instrument when you can perform at the World Air Guitar Championships? It was a night of riffing, rock solos and headbanging in Finland, with Canada's Zachary Knowles crowned the winner. Other competitors included shred lasso and guitarantula, with the judges taking into account originality, stage presence and technical merits. The headlines again: a major escalation in the Middle East. Hezbollah launches phase 1 of its attack on Israel, firing hundreds of drones and rockets. In Lebanon, 3 people are killed as Israel launches preemptive airstrikes against Hezbollah targets. And that is the world today. Thank you for watching. There's more news on CGTN Europe's channel on the Telegram app, or scan the QR code on the screen to get stories and updates sent direct to your phone. More news at the top of this hour. Coming up next is Razor. For now, from all of the team in London, it's goodbye.